Hello and welcome to this extra special session of ExecuNet Master Class. I'm your host, as always, Tony Vlahos. Many forms of bias in hiring persist in companies of all sizes. The critical question isn't, is there age bias or gender bias or some other form of bias, but how do I overcome it so that you can stand out from the resume pile for all the right reasons and land the role you want as quickly as possible? So for answers, I brought together three leading experts in the executive job search space, whom you'll meet in just a moment. Over the next hour, this crackerjack team will also tell you how to explain employment gaps and other mysteries that could trip you up. And today's talk is a part of our daily commitment here at ExecuNet to connect you with trusted advisors who can help you create the transformative results you want in your career, in the world of work, and of course, in your everyday life. So real quick, the format for today's session. It'll be an advice-filled Q&A. You may, of course, chat in your questions, and I'll do my best to include them in our conversation. Some of you have emailed me some really great questions, and I thank you very much. I'll be asking those as well. Second, if you need technical support, you guessed it, chat it in, and my amazing colleague Kim will help you out. Finally, very important, please complete your evaluation form before you go. I know the panelists value your feedback, and Kim and I do too. It really does help us serve you better. Now, let me tell you a little about the people virtually seated right next to me. Don Weintraub is a renowned executive career coach with over 15 years of executive recruiting experience and many more years as a senior executive and hiring manager. He's a recognized expert in personal branding and marketing, networking, and interviewing. He's the managing director of the ExecuNet Career Services Group. Andrea Briscoe is an ExecuNet career strategist, diversity specialist, professor, and career coach with expertise in helping executives create an impactful resume and interview with skill and ease. She has served as a corporate human resource partner and consultant for many elite firms, including KPMG, the American Institute of CPAs, Guardian Insurance, and Merrill Lynch. Last but not least, Sandra Botts is a career strategist with ExecuNet as well. She uses the insider information gained from her prior experience in retained and contingency executive search to assist executives in career transition. With that, Sandra, Don, and Andrea, welcome. It's good to be talking to you. Sandra, are employers leery of hiring candidates with a history of job hopping? Let's start there, and then we'll get to some of the gaps. Let's start with job hopping, especially if you're an older worker, you've done a lot of things, or you're in a functional area that the lifespan of a CMO is like, what, a little greater than the average hair, I guess. But it is an area where you tend to job hop a lot. Is there a bias against that? And how do you tell that story in your collateral?
Well, I think anybody that has a bias against job hopping in today's disruptive economy, the companies at least are very old school. So you might want to think about that. Our whole disruptive world works now that, first of all, companies pivot. So things are going to change. They're going to get rid of a division. And people just move on. And that's all started with the '08 recession. And matter of fact, the millennials that came into the workforce at that time, they realized that that was how companies worked, and they realized that B, they also had to take the onus on themselves to keep themselves marketable. And so if they weren't getting certain experience at one company, they had to go get that at the other company because they had to stay marketable, because there's no, a company's just going to keep you because you've got seniority, like there was in pre-recession. Right now, companies make decisions for fiscal reasons. So that mentality had to go back to the candidate too, to say, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get the experience that I need to get. And so that mentality has been going forward now. And because companies have to pivot and people have to pivot, there's not really, they don't see that as being so much of a negative as they can see it as a positive, and that you bring this different experience to the table. But if you yourself don't see it as a positive and make it part of your story and weave it into how it all benefits them, they're not going to see it that way either.
Mm-hmm. We often
picking up on that, it's just storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
The resume is about storytelling. And if there are reasons, there have been reductions in force outside your control, tell the reader. Otherwise, as a former recruiter, I will fill in the gaps. And it will be far worse than any reality. And the flip side of job hopping is those people have spent 25 years in the same company. Mm-hmm. So if there are any kind of issues, it's at the extremes. Even if you've had 10 jobs in the same company over 25 years, oh, they only worked in one place. Oh, this person has had 5 jobs in 10 years. If that's what's in the mind of the recruiter or the hiring manager, you have no control over that. All you can do is tell the story in a way that mitigates wherever possible for them thinking, oh, he was fired with cause. Explain why you had to move. Explain the opportunity you went to and why that was worth making a move. Don't leave it to chance that somebody can fill in the blanks and do it to your advantage.
Okay. On that topic,
I'd like to add one quick thing
please
to
do, yes.
piggyback on what my panel members have also said here. And it's about also approaching your responses with the same level of sort of ingenuity and fresh thinking, because if you're going to respond to a question out of, oh, well, I've got gaps, so that's a danger. And you're responding to it as if it's a deficit, then it can also be perceived as a deficit in that way. So thinking about it as, maybe I was brought in to do the following things and I've accomplished those things. So now I'm looking for the next opportunity to do that. So it is certainly storytelling, but it's also you having the mindset that you have and to whom you're speaking about that as well. And also just, from a legal perspective, asking people about their last salary, asking people about why they left, those kinds of questions are still asked, right? Like, we always advise people in HR who are doing reference checks, get as much information as you can. But if you're in HR and you're responding, you give name, rank, serial number. What was the position? What was their salary? I can confirm length of employment, right? So it goes both ways, but I think that those are some really important considerations.